I think Michael has proven he was the correct person to ask to come and say a few words to us. He's never failed the club, and many thanks, Michael. And I think from the club and from everyone, the best of luck with your decision and your future from all of us, and that's heartfelt.
Thank you.
So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the guy who held the pen and slaved with the pen right through all this, you know. And again, he was one of these guys. I know he had two sons through this place as well that added so much on the pitch, Michael and Tom. And but that camera of his was legend. We all saw it, and you know the results of that camera are in here as well. And they're the records. They're the kinds of threads that I spoke about earlier. It's bringing those together. So without further ado, Michael Doyle, please.
Before I start, can I just qualify Michael Fitzgerald's reading of the attributes? It was the attributes of a social rugby team, not the first team. Like, so even though I did include the odd body there, the guy, the showboat man, who was knocked over the line before he scored it right that time. So sorry, I apologise to anyone who might be offended. I'm not going to actually start by saying presidents, past presidents, and all that. Every one of you are all welcome here tonight, and I'm delighted to see such a big turnout here tonight. And thank you, Michael, again for actually being our guest of honour. This all started by accident. I was here at a meeting back in 2021. James Lawrence proposed that we would write a history of the club, seeing that we were coming up to 2021, we should write a history of the club. And I stupidly opened my mouth and said, well, this will cost us money that we don't have, so maybe we should do it ourselves. So unfortunately, Eddie Nugent there seconded me, even though I wasn't proposed. Can I just say also that I'm not sure if it's been mentioned before, and I presume I'm correct in saying this, but we are the only junior club, I think, in Munster, Pius, are we, that have never lost our Junior 1 status, that is a phenomenal record. And it's down to the bodies here, the community, bodies like, I'm sorry for pointing out certain people, Simon Barry, whom I saw playing about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and he's playing better rugby in recent times than he has. Dodds, there's guys are still playing here past their sell-by date. It says so much for the commitment to the club. And even Johnny Luby's son, Jared, I remember actually we were playing, can't remember what we were playing at the time, but Jared Luby actually had to come up from Wexford to step in because we were short players, even though he's gone from the club. But you'll read all of that in the book, like it's all there. Writing the book, guys, was a labour of love. It gave me great insight into the commitment to the club in the early years, and even in the present time, by totally committed and selfless members. I did spend the first few months like a headless chicken, lost, didn't know what I was going to do. I'd never undertaken something like this before. So I went round houses, called up to the Coonies, got tea, I think, and toast one morning. Tony was out supposedly milking the cows, but we all know the sisters do it all. Tony was sitting on his ass somewhere. Sorry. It's that delegation. But in fairness, like, the Coonies turned up with an awful lot of photographs and articles that they'd kept. The McLaughlins had some good photographs. And I went to newspapers, went online, went to the Source library inside in Thurles. So this was meant to be just a compilation of everything that happened over the last 40 years. I've tried to include, I've looked at other histories of rugby clubs, and what I felt was missing in some, I wanted to not omit in this one. I wanted to include practically every member that ever played, that ever put on boots for Kilfecle. So there's a lot of people actually mentioned that would see themselves actually over the years. I want to thank certain people for the compilation of this book. One in particular, Pius O'Grady, because without Pius, the underage section would never be what it is. I was missing quite a number of years. I didn't have the detail. Pius was a pain in the neck to me, in the sense that, my apologies, Pius, he kept on and on and on until he got everybody in it. So well done, Pius, and thank you very much for that. It was meticulous. I'd say there's nobody, you might think there might be the odd one missing. I don't think there's anybody missing from underage, because you went to great lengths to do that. Dennis Wade, for his weekly reports since 2005, without which I would not have half of the stuff that I have in the book, because a lot of the reports actually on matches, and I just synopsised those, they came from Dennis Wade. And I enjoyed some of his witticisms actually in the book when he was reporting matches. For example, Scal isn't here tonight, I hope. He describes Scal O'Mahony actually in one match where he picked the ball out of a ruck and with ears pricked back like Shergar, ran the length of the pitch and touched down under the post. Now, it didn't say very much for the speed of the backs, but maybe they felt sorry for Scal, I'd say, just to let him through. I would also like to thank a few others. Joe Lonigan in the early stages for giving me a lot of detail. Patsy Coleman for keeping me calm and on track because I was about to pack it up a few times. Elaine at Fitzpatrick's, who was very patient, great guidance from Elaine, and always had a smile on her face, never a harsh word. I was in trepidation going into her a few times, thinking that she was going to give out to me because we were getting draft after draft after draft, adding more material all the time. Over the years, I think the committee deserves huge amount of credit, because without committees, hard-working committees, a club would not exist. And in particular, I know I shouldn't be singling out, but to me, the treasurers and the secretaries, they're the ones that carry the club. And I know we've had 3 great secretaries over the years, but my own experience actually of working with Michelle over the last 7 or 8 years, 9 years, I must say, and I would say that Karen, you've all done the same in the past, but Michelle has carried this club with great honour actually in recent years. I mean, the dedication, her selflessness is unreal. Not too many other people would do that, because it's a thankless job when you're working at committee level in a club. Players sometimes don't understand it, not this club, because this is a players' club. At the very start, when the club was founded, the players were the committee, the players were trying to actually invest in a pitch, they were also playing matches, they were going out fundraising, so it was a players' club, it still is a players' club, and I would say that the players of this club probably appreciate more than in some other clubs the work that's done by committees. So thank you, Michelle, because without you the club would be in a much poorer position. And that, and second last, actually, in the early years, again, an awful lot of coaches, parents, call them what you want, Sean O'Sullivan, Pius O'Grady, a load of others, had to take kids in their cars before the days of health and safety, before insurance. There were cars laden down, I was told, with 8 and 9 and 10 bodies. Actually, Christ, you wouldn't do it now, to take kids to matches all over the place. That is what kept the club going at the time. And lastly, I would just like to thank my wife, because when I started writing the book, I used to sit down with my coffee sandwiches in the middle of the day. She was out working. When she came in the evening, she would say to me, "Will I feed the dogs?" And I'd say yes. So I actually stretched the book out probably 6 or 8 months longer than I should have, because it meant I didn't have to do the work at home. So thank you all, and thank you all for being here. Well done,